Greetings, Guardians, my name is Bife here. So, as I probably need to say on a more regular basis, I am never wrong. Okay, just kidding, I get a lot of stuff wrong. From time to time in videos, though, it's worth pointing out things that I get wrong. Because whilst it doesn't happen all the time, it is one of those moments where occasionally someone will correct me in the comments, and it's really, really worth going over. Doesn't happen a lot, but when it does, I would like to use the opportunities more regularly to bring those points up. And today, there is some commentary I need to make, partly because of all of you who corrected me. So to those of you in the comments of the previous video, thank you, because this video would not exist without you. So, here are some updates from previous video. First, much smaller update, is that I was wrong about Morak. We have actually seen Morak before. We saw him in the Season of the Risen. He was one of the Hive Lightbearer bosses in the seasonal activity, the Psyops Battlegrounds. So yeah, we can now tell the third contingent of the operation to restore Oryx's body as a Hive Lightbearer. It was indeed coming from Savathun's own Fractured Brood. The second and far more pertinent detail is this. It turns out that there is potentially an answer in the lore as to how Oryx's body managed to get to Titan. It's still a weird one, it doesn't truly confirm all the things, but it has so many context clues within it, and all of them point in the direction that's implied. So yeah, I think it is fair to say that this is our best understanding of how Oryx's body might have ended up on the seafloor of Titan, and in particular it solves that big question of, well, how did it get away from the pull of Saturn's gravity? So today we're going to go into one of those old lore tabs and answer that question, which is incredibly relevant this season. Before we begin though, one really quick note. Thank you. A ton of you ordered the advanced GG Shakers, and we're really excited about the reception because, yeah, tons of it has been really positive. It's a really quick bump that I'm giving you all now, but if you're gonna go ahead and grab the Ice Shaker bundle, you have less than 24 hours left as of the publishing of this video. In the description there is a link to the bundle if you want to pick it up in the last minute. Also remember you can use code LOREDADDY, because again, we went with the full meme, and that will get you 10% off and it helps to support me. Thanks again to the wonderful team at Advanced GG for helping support my content. Anyway, back to the lore. So, big question, where does all of the lore come from in this one? Well, canonically, in Destiny, timeline-wise, it's from the moment after the Season of Arrivals where all of the planets and moons are abducted. This is the very beginning of the Season of the Hunt. This was a tumultuous time in Destiny. It was the first time the planets had disappeared and we were having to live in that particular new world of Destiny. It was the point at which Guardians had started using stasis, and it was also the first time that Xivu Arath had made her presence known within the system. Perhaps then it's no surprise that this little tidbit of lore is hidden away in one of the Forgotten Weapon lore tabs from the Season of the Hunt. A certain scout rifle called Royal Chase. The name, by the way? I think that's our first Oryx-based context clue. The lore tab for Royal Chase, though, tells us the rest. Take a listen. Vanguard Network, Praxic Scout Wideband, Audio Channel 33295. Public, logskew 859128312785. You still tracking that monster near Saturn? Yes. Nil-1 is holding position directly over Titan on mark, 27 hours? Rotating off in 3. Long shift. You Praxic boys are cold. Regret your induction yet? It's not a problem. We don't sleep. Right. I mean, you do sleep. Negative. Come on, I've met Guardians before. We do not. Don't make me call in the gunny. Your gunny would know better than to argue with the Order. Okay, listen, Jeff. You're not the Order. I don't give a quiet. Energy rev spooling from the target. What? You said it was basically dead. Basically. Verum, record this. Establish direct feed uplink with Navtac. Uplink connectivity is spotty. Gravitational anomaly detect. No. It's collapse. Navtac, return. Links read as established. Navtac, return. Telemetric positioning pins us on the opposing side of Saturn. Displacement reads as roughly 470,000 kilometers. Titan is gone. This doesn't make any sense. Navtac, Vanguard Recon, come in. Tower actual. Harriet, are you out there? Signal redacted. Transmission redacted. So a lot of that transmission is redacted and a lot of it's all mixed up in the confusion, but I think that we can actually understand the broad strokes of what's happening here. To explain it, at base you have a Praxic Order Warlock, and you have a Scout of the Vanguard, and you have the Praxic Order Warlock's Ghost at the very end too. They're being tasked with watching over something specific in Saturn's orbit. That thing is referred to as a monster, and they've apparently been tracking it for long shifts at a time, 30 hours apiece. This is of course the small talk portion of it that doesn't reveal too much, but the reference to the thing as a monster that the Praxic Order is watching over, I mean, yeah, that also fits with the idea of it being Oryx. Doesn't confirm it, but it would make sense as to why they're watching something like that randomly floating out in Saturn's orbit. And what's more, I mean, you know, the placement of it makes sense there. Granted, it means that this corpse has been floating around there for a long time, but a large enough body in the asteroid field of Saturn? Yeah, I mean, it's not too far out of the question. My original belief would have been that Oryx's body would have actually fallen to Saturn and into its own gravity and been pulled down to the surface of the gas giant, but even at that point, you know, the actual size of the area we're talking about and the distance traveled in space, you know, there's no easy way to be sure of any of this. What's more is the bit that comes up following everything to do with these sudden disturbances, which is this bit where they call the thing they're tracking basically dead. This tracks with what Chalco was saying on the seafloor to Fenchurch in Lisbon. Oryx's body is still filled with darkness and taken energy, but it's also kind of still alive. It can't react to outside stimuli, but it's not completely unaware of it either. It's also still growing, and the energy within it is still creating pockets within the surrounding area that have adverse effects to fire teams. So yeah, that also seems to track with the idea that this is Oryx's body. Now, if this is being tracked, the thing that does give me pause here is the idea that these are energy reverberations spooling from the target. This might be the indication that Oryx's body is being affected by the massive gravitational anomaly, which is clearly being caused by the Black Fleet, but also, I don't understand quite how the energy would spool from the target. Oryx is dead, and I don't know how he interacts with everything to do with the Black Fleet. It could, however, be something to do with the fact that Oryx is filled with taken energy, and it's been revealed to us that the idea of actually taking something, and the idea of moving planets as the Witness does, they're not too dissimilar. So if this Vanguard Praxic Scout team is actually just tracking taken energy readings within Oryx's remains, it would make sense that, well, some of that is reactive, and, you know, suddenly they see a spike in that particular surge of energy. It's not confirmed, and everything I just said there is conjecture, but this whole entry is conjecture, and it does seem to still point us in the right direction. So let's hold to the course for just a moment. The bit that's of particular importance, though, is that moment when the Vanguard Scouts basically reacted to the exact moment when Titan was abducted by the Witness. We actually see it within the logs. It's this massive moment of interference. From the moment that everything is re-established comm-wise, though, the tower is immediately being contacted by the Scouts. They are saying as well that the sizable area around Titan has been affected, something like 470,000 kilometers worth of displacement. Now, if that area is big enough, it may well have been enough to also encompass the body of Oryx. It's not impossible to believe that that's the case, especially if it also reacted to the stimuli of the pyramids. That's at least the best assumption that one can make. It's also worth remembering that this is the moment at which we saw all of the other typical gravitational anomalies that the Black Fleet is known for. Now, it's not necessarily the case that these gravitational effects are the core reason. It could have been the energy spool that was spoken of, but it's also not impossible that the sudden disappearance of Titan would have pulled gravity off course, or would perhaps have been a cause for the body to have been pulled in the first place. He might have pulled Oryx out of the rings of Saturn in the first instance and, well, pulled him into that same area. Now, let's be clear. This is competing against the gravity of Saturn, the second largest planet in the entire solar system and, well, one of the two great giants. This is a really big planet. Is it impossible, though, for the power of the pyramids and the gravity that they can project to be greater than the second largest planet in the system? Well, no, I think it's totally possible. Remember that the pyramids were capable of stretching planets to create massive tidal waves before we even consider the abilities that they have that go outside this. They are able to manipulate gravity on a micro, macro, and paracausal scale. They can abduct the planets as well. So, is it possible that they created a greater force than that of Saturn? I don't know, but I mean, it's always worth remembering that paracausal forces like the Black Fleet and the Witness, they have this tendency of ignoring the rules of the universe. So with all that considered, we get an idea of how Oryx's body might have been caught up in Titan's gravity, fallen to its surface, and then ended up in the ocean, where it landed within, on the ocean floor. Nothing here is truly confirmed, but there's enough contextual clues here to really put it all together. The use of the name Royal Chase to indicate that the Vanguard is following a royal being, aka the Taken King. The idea that it's a monster that they're following. The idea that it's not really dead, lining up with the spectral analysis that was done of Oryx's body. The sudden disappearance of Titan after a gravitational anomaly. The spooling energy from the target. The pieces are all there, and whilst it's never spelt out clearly, I think that this is a very likely scenario that everyone should really know about. So again, to those of you who went ahead and pointed this out in the comments section of the previous video, thank you. You not only gave me a video topic, but you also helped to spread a little bit of extra information. Does this satisfy my thing of, I suppose that's how Oryx ended up on the seafloor? I guess it does, but it's still one of those things of we basically have to hand-wave gravity. Then again, this is Destiny, and whilst they do try and keep close to some of the science, it is ultimately science fiction, so any bit and piece where they start to edit things, the moment anything paracausal comes in, you can happily suspend your disbelief. This also does give us a fairly relative answer as to how all the pieces were moved into place. So yeah, for me, I think I'm now satisfied. Even if it is one of those moments where we get this context at the end of a lore tab that has been buried to me for 2 years. Either way, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope it was informative, and yeah, I really do hope that this is something we get to do in the future, because I'm not infallible, and if I have made mistakes in previous videos, it's always worth bringing them up. It's not something where I hope I end up with a bruised ego on any of these things, but you know, I'm not perfect, no one is. There are other bits and pieces to the lore this season that we can definitely talk about, and some other bits and pieces that need some clarification, but for the moment, yeah, that's going to be it from me for now. If you enjoyed, go ahead and leave a like, and also, if you have any thoughts of your own again, comments down below. If you want more Destiny lore content, go ahead and hit subscribe and the bell next to subscribe. But as per usual, know that your viewership, as always, is quite enough for me. And that in the meantime, my name is Byf. Pur audacia ad astra. I'll see you, Starside.